Hello, this is Seth Wenning, and welcome to another AFI 100 Greatest American Films List review. Tonight we're going to do two films that have very tight connections. Gone with the Wind. The second is Wizard of Oz. Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz have multiple connections. They were made in 1939. They were directed by Victor Fleming and had a contribution by director George Cukor. They were in color for different reasons. They feature strong women. They were up for the same Oscars, and they were both largely fairy tales and based on books. Now, Gone with the Wind occupies the fourth position on 1998 list and the sixth position on the 2007 list. It's a Warner Brothers film. I know I don't normally say what company it came from, but it's a Warner Brothers film. It was a retelling of the history of the Old South, like the slavery or Civil War era South. It was based on a book by Margaret Mitchell. She wanted to retell the story of the South where the Civil War was not fought over slavery. It was fought as a way to get in the way of the lead character, Scarlett O'Hara. In Gone with the Wind, the Old South is seen as Camelot, where everything is hunky-dory. Vivian Lee's character, Scarlett O'Hara, lives in a plantation called Tara, T-A-R, and she just does whatever she wants as a member of the upper crust of the South. And, she has house slaves to give her, help her dress in the morning, and one of those house slaves, called Mammy, played by Hattie McDaniels, won an Oscar for her performance. She's the first African American person to win an Oscar. It's amazing that it happened in 1939, which is, almost 79 years ago. Now, the reason why, I have to think that the reason why now Gone with the Wind got made in 1939, and that it was in color was because the Great Depression was going on. And as traditionally before the Great Depression, women didn't work outside the home. And then after World War II, they again didn't work outside the home. But during the Depression and during the wartime that came after it, they were, doing laundry and they were house cleaning for other people, and they were doing anything they could to make ends meet, because 33% of America was out of work. And of course, that would be, of course, in the African American communities and in the Latino communities, that would be of a higher percentage than what white people faced. So the women had to work. So Hollywood wanted to portray the women as your place is in the home, but you have to struggle and work outside the home. And they wanted to paint Scarlett O'Hara as an earlier Rosie the Riveter. Of course, Rosie the Riveter wasn't invented in 1939. That was a World War II piece of propaganda. Well, true propaganda, but it just was the embodiment of girl power today, or girl boss, or women in power, but only for a certain period of time, of course. Because we can't mess with the status quo, can we? So Scarlett is working outside the home. Scarlett is doing what she wants. She's headstrong. She takes on a bunch of lovers, like 3 husbands, which is completely unheard of during the Civil War. Well, maybe if someone got killed. But this movie is an epic movie. It's like 4 hours long. It was like a half an hour intermission. And movies don't even have intermissions anymore. But it was just, you needed to go to the bathroom after watching the first half, because, you know, it was so long and, you know, so much information, I guess. And basically, it starts out when she's in all her finery and what war. Everyone's talking about a war, but it ain't never gonna come here. But of course it does, because she lives in the South, and most of the war, save for Gettysburg, was fought in the South. In case you didn't know that Sherman, Northern General, burned his way through Georgia in what I would think was the first modern war, where there was war in the streets of towns and cities. He took the war right into towns. Whereas wars before that were largely fought on the outskirts of towns, in the fields around Washington, D.C., in the fields around Boston and Concord, Massachusetts. One exception was the War of 1812, when they burned the White House, but by and large, war was pretty much kept away from the common people. The common people were affected by it, no doubt, but just they didn't have to see it. But the Civil War is the first one that people, quote unquote, saw. With all this, you know, female empowerment, you have to restore the values of the prior society. So Scarlett O'Hara, I keep on saying my wife Scarlett Johansson. Oops, but Scarlett O'Hara, she has to be slapped down because, you know, it was 1939 and the women wanted her to be slapped down more than the men did, because it's really scary to introduce a new reality when you're used to the old reality. I think, like many women, might have been uncomfortable with Hillary Clinton at the helm of the United States, and they voted for Donald Trump. It's one of those things. Something new is more often feared than the same old, same old. And basically, when Rhett Butler, the third husband, says, frankly, Scarlett, people think it's frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn, but it's actually, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. When she asks, what am I supposed to do? As a strong, independent woman, that in itself, a strong, independent woman would probably never, ever look to a male and ask, what do I do? They would know. My grandmothers always knew. They didn't have to look to a man to find out what they needed. They just did it. And I'm pretty lucky to have strong grandparents, mothers, and sister-in-law and girlfriend, and it's just odd to me that, women having to be empowered, women having power stripped from them, because where I'm from, that's the way it is. Women are powerful, men are powerful, whatever. So this is a rebuke, if anything. New went back to the status quo where it's Camelot in the South, even though there are slaves doing your work for you. And Scarlett doesn't really have to do anything until the end when her terra plantation is in shambles and nobody's working for her, and she's saying tomorrow is another day, meaning that the South will rise again. I will go back to my really sheltered existence and everything will be fine. And what I found interesting is Clark Gable and Vivian Lee. Clark Gable was Brett Butler, Vivian Lee was Scarlett O'Hara. These two people were just huge stars, but they were really both equally despicable. They had multiple affairs. They were not as clean cut as what the studios would tell you. Watching the film from 2018, they were really like their actual characters. Rhett Butler wasn't, this uber romantic type of man. He was a scoundrel. He was taking what he wanted. When he takes Scarlett up the bed, you're coming with me. That would never happen today without a lawsuit. And Vivian Lee she killed a man, a union man in her own house when the union soldier was basically ransacking it and trying to get her in the bed. And I saw this movie for the first time in 8th grade, and it was really scarring because, he was just a near rape, and I'm watching this in class, and that's the way I took it because, I knew what was going to happen. If he got up the stairs and into her room with her, don't need much of an imagination of what's going to happen next. And the rape would be like the raping of the South in Margaret Mitchell's eyes, the rape of Scarlett by a Union soldier, just a flatfoot, would, or Brevet, whatever, would be equal to the North raping the South, which, it's her retelling, and there were a lot of Southern directors and old Hollywood who had a real bitterness for the Civil War, and just, they felt set upon, and they felt wronged, and they felt conscripted into mock slavery, and that's probably why the North and the South are still very different in the way that we view America and history, and because some people still call it the war between the states, and they're all from the South. I'm from the North, of course, New Hampshire, and we think of it as the Civil War, and we have, we won, blah, 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 and but now it's no big deal to us. It's just a history that's 155 or somewhere 155, 156 years old. I'm sure that not many people remember stories of 150 years ago, but in the South, it can be very different. It would be like if England won the War of 1812 and we were now under English rule again. And that's what it probably feels like for some people. But I think it's a good film. I like the color, because I like color films, and I think you should see it, but you should take a weekend because it's a good film. It won Film of the Year, 1939, and it's just not as action-packed as films are today, so you might want to take a weekend to explore this film. And there's not really, you will think about it as deeply as you want to or not, but, it's not gonna, well, maybe you'll be riveted, maybe you won't, but I wasn't, because of course I was in 8th grade when I saw it the first time, and just, but it is a great film, and there's a reason why it's in the top 10 of the AFI 100 Years of Married Films. It was just an amazing achievement, and it's a well worthy watch. If you like this video, hit the bell, subscribe, check out my links in the dialog box below, and I will have more for you. Until next time, have a good day.